What's going on, guys? I am MK Walter. I am doing a reaction video on Andy Pants Gaming. Let's get right into it.
Hey guys, in case you still had a thread of hope that video games were going to get better, it has officially been leaked that the new God of War Sony Santa Monica game will star Kratos in the lead role.
Why would they do that? That'd be kind of strange because God of War have always been about Kratos. So it'd be kind of strange to like switch main characters on this without any kind of forewarning. At least I didn't get any of that in God of War Ragnarok. But I have a feeling he's about to make this a man versus woman thing. Let's see if I'm right.
There is no God of War in the new God of War game. Yes, you heard that correctly. Anybody else exhausted of freaking girl bosses just in all of your media now?
It depends. I mean, I would say that in most cases, yes, in the modern day, but it has to do with the subversive writing that we deal with, not necessarily that the main character has ovaries. I think that good writing, right? I mean, everybody loved Daisy Ridley or Tomb Raider because it was well-written female characters that still act like women, but are good heroines for major story. So in most cases in the modern day, they can't write women anymore because they don't know what that means anymore. So I would say that it's not necessarily of whether or not they have the same dangly bits as me and more like what they do. Like for example, the lady here, Loretta, at least had a really cool trailer, and then in the story, she's at least not divisive in the Halo franchise. Everyone around her is annoying as shit, but her herself, there's no problem.
Can't enjoy anything anymore. All of it has to have girl bosses now. One of my favorite things to do now is see which game developers post.
Are you mad? Like, did you choose this one because it's a woman helping two kids? It's like actual motherly nature. Why on earth would you be against that?
About Women's Day and then go over to the Steam DB and point and laugh at the 10 people playing their game.
That's not nice. It's funny, but it's not nice.
Did we forget that having ovaries basically guarantees you can't make a good video game?
Really? So, like, what if I blew your mind and said something like, did you know Halo Combat Evolved have women part of the creative team? Did you know that God of War, most of the first God of War, when it came to those more, spicy scenes and like when they really wanted to extenuate sexuality for the women in there, it was done by women. Like that mini game, written by women. The Gears of War original content creation, a bunch of the animators, well, not a bunch, but several, were women. It's almost like it has nothing to do with whether or not you have dangly bits, and more important to do where you are emotionally, psychologically, in terms of like, are you a feminazi, man-hating, resentful, bigot, kind of complaining, tantrum-throwing child, or are you an adult who realizes what the actual reality around you is, right?
Outer Worlds 2, $100 million budget. Post about Women's Day, 158 people.
Right, because it was a bad game. Really stupid. It had really nothing to do with ovaries.
Online. 1348 X Voto, the new lesbian girl boss game.
I talked about this game a bit too myself. It has really, really poor writing decisions, and the gameplay is garbage. Less to do with subversive writing, has a little bit of it, but nowhere near as bad as people made it out to be.
All the mental illness on the team.
I mean, obviously, making your main character that is going to be really divisive because there's not a lot of people that want to play that, which is what I actually griped about with it, because the character herself actually is portrayed as a decently likable character. The problem is most people don't want to play as a lesbian bull character in a fantasy world where you're fighting all these people in like dollar store combat.
They just had a post about Women's Day, 0 people online. Peaked at 167 players.
So I guess it'd be 166 if you counted me out. I guess I could jump into the game right now and be the one person. Just the one person.
Hellblade 2, $100 million budget. Photo of the ugly bull dykes who work there. 40 people
This video is going to get banned before it gets even out.
Online. Even big franchises suffer this fate. Halo Infinite posted about Women's Day. Bro, only 700 people online in the world on PC right now playing Halo. And just to show how bad it is, even Halo MCC had 6.
Now, I originally would have been like, oh yeah, that's really bad. 700 players is crap. I agree. But to try to compare it to the old Halo collection, you have just Halo Infinite, which is a third of that game, versus the entire Halo collection and all its multiplayers. Come on, that's not even a fair comparison.
6,400 people playing it last night. But boys, this is what I've come to realize recently. They know we hate this shit and they don't care because they already got paid.
Well, of course, it's incentive based. if you were a house builder and like you did all the parts you were supposed to do, and then everyone else did theirs, and then they sold the house, and then it turned out the house was falling apart because a bunch of people messed it up. You got to go back. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll spend my own money and my own time. No, you wouldn't. You'd be off to the next gig. It's the same thing. If you remove the incentive, then we take it away. But it's kind of like blaming people for chasing what's good for them.
Yeah, we ruined your game. What are you going to do about it? And they're right. All of you dudes who bought Ghost of Yotei or Last of Us 2 or Forbidden West or will buy Witcher 4, you guys are the problem.
So, like, I don't know if Horizon is a fair one. That was, like, financially successful, and, like, a lot of people liked it. I personally, it's not my kind of game, so I didn't play it, so I can't actually defend it, but from my understanding, that was financially successful. Ghost of Yotei pretended it was successful, but it did the same thing Assassin's Creed did, claimed its success, and then, you know, fired a bunch of people. The other ones, again, I didn't play any of these, so I can't defend or agree with you in this case, but they do generally are like financial failures, so it's pretty fair to say. Though, like for example, The Last of Us Part 2 did come out like 6 times. So it's like, is it that version of it that failed, or is it all in a combination of how badly it was done, or you know, what have you?
So I don't want to hear anybody complaining about the current state of video games if you bought Ghost of Yotei. You
Never played it. I'm still gonna complain about your bad videos.
are the problem. Another funny thing about that Halo post about Women's Day is they turned off comments on the post because of course.
Yeah, of course, because they're stupid. If you can't win in the freedom of ideas, then you know it's a bad idea. Like if I like they're gonna turn off comments for this because this is kind of politically divisive in its own way, because they probably didn't wish the man's day a good day, right? And you know, if I'm wrong and they did, then we shouldn't be complaining about this if they did that. But in general, having your video game talking about this kind of stuff is dumb.
So they'll say, join the conversation and let's have a dialogue. And then you ratio them into oblivion. And then suddenly it's time to turn the comments off because their ass got curb stomped. So anyway, boys,
This is like a modern issue in general. I mean, I just made a video discussing this on how like modern authors can't handle criticism of any regard while asking they want reviews. They just want validation, right? Most people can't handle criticism because criticism is like this personal attack on your identity, not just correcting a problem.
what I really want to
I was being sarcastic.
talk about in this video is 3 times women absolutely ruined a studio. Number 1, Kratos used to be the god of war. Now he's the god of war against men.
What? How do you know? How could you claim it's a destruction to the studio? They're still financially successful. The last God of Wars were very well received. Most of God of War people will disagree with you. Even if they agree or disagree about the new state of the game, we haven't played the new game. It's way too early to call something like that.
Number 2, Ninja Theory. How did the studio that brought us Heavenly Sword become full of so many fat dykes?
Wait, hold on. I thought the problem was, first of all, this video is getting banned. Second of all, how can you claim this? You were just complaining about female leads. In general, it's just as a whole, oh my goodness, you can't have a female lead. And then a game has a female lead and you're like, oh my god, it's the worst thing ever. You're a hypocrite.
Let's talk about it. Number 3, Witcher 4. If you think this game is going to be based, I have some bad news for you.
So many people have made videos on this discussing this and actually showing the trailer for its entirety. First of all, this is obviously an edited image on the right, if you can't tell. She looks way more on the left, and we're going to see that later on, where he's obviously trying to be some subversive crap. And it's funny because this is the same kind of behavior we call out when people that are extremely left or woke does this shit. We will call it out. So I guess I'll be the one person that calls it out when the right is doing it too, because I think it's very important we keep a reasonable middle ground. Sometimes there can be good female leads, like in Alien, like in Tomb Raider, like in, you know, when there's actually good writing, instead of saying all women bad, right? Because that's just stupid. And what happens is all you do is make the general audience, like the average person in the middle, go, well, I agree with you. I'm tired of like woke feminism taking over my games, but in the same light, you're saying how much you hate women and that they all don't have a right to play or be in the gaming space. So they're gonna go, well, I'm not gonna listen to you either. So it's stupid. Also, just real quick before we keep going, if you didn't expect the end of Witcher 3 to hint at the fact that Ciri was going to be the lead at Witcher 4, you either one, didn't play the game, or you're just retarded.
Are you tired of playing as a overweight, purple-haired fat?
Fair. This one is very fair.
Addy and Call of Duty
I can't believe this made it in the game.
Slop Mobile. I've been playing Urban Heat on my phone, and I gotta say, the chicks are hot as hell, the dudes are chads, and the aesthetic of the game is sort of like GTA, but with dragon tattoos. So I don't play a ton of mobile games, but the guys at Urban Heat reached out to me about
Same guy that complains about modern slop, by the way.
checking this game out, and after putting a ton of hours in, I gotta say, if I did get hooked on a mobile FPS, this would be the only one I would play. The first thing I liked about this game is it has console quality graphics
No,
on a phone.
this looks worse than the finals.
I really like PvP,
By the way, I like the finals.
so I really like dominating people.
Huh? What? What did he say?
Graphics on a phone. I really like PvP, so I really like dominating people.
Who's the main demographic for these games? It's men. So what he just said was he likes to dominate men. Why is it always the guys that swing so far in one direction are always in the closet?
And once you get past the tutorial, there's no bots. It's just PvP 3v3
All games have bots later on. Cap.
and 5v5. It's a deathmatch game, and it's kind of a
He literally just admitted this game's gonna be AI slop. Get out of here.
hero shooter too, because you have 6 samurai abilities and stuff like that.
Wait, so it's sick and masculated too, bro. Because there's a shirtless man looking at you? Okay, sure.
The gameplay is really good. There's a ton of weapon customization. You can customize your abilities. You can basically build your character around whatever playstyle you want. Another thing I like about this game is if you're busy with work and stuff and you only have 5 minutes here or there to play mobile games, you're still leveling up your dude. The matches are like 7 minutes long and you level up pretty quickly, so that's nice. Also, I just found COD Mobile costs way too much money now.
Why are you playing COD Mobile? I thought you said you didn't like COD games. I think he wants to play with that big bro from earlier. That big back.
Now it's paywalled and it had become insanely grindy. Basically, getting anything cool, you had to use your credit card to get. So one of the reasons I've been playing Urban Heat is because it
Because they pay you.
feels like your dude levels up pretty quick, and I still haven't even
You want a game that plays for you?
bought anything or paid anything for this game. Download Urban Heat using my link and instantly unlock a powerful S2A4 blueprint loaded with 5 enhanced modules plus $3,000 in-game cash.
If you like paid attention to the numbers, one weapon was like 150,000. But no, it's not a grindy game at all.
A bundle worth over
$30.
value. What I bought, what I expected, and what I got. All right, so
Bro, I saw the old pancake lady. She was the best. Bring her back.
guys, we're going to talk about the downfalls of 3 different studios because they hired women. They hired way too many women. And we need to begin, of
Again, it's about messaging.
course, with God of War, who is the pinnacle of rage-fueled masculinity. He had no
Huh? So like rage and masculinity are not mutually exclusive. Like your masculinity isn't tied on how angry you can be. The fact that he was courageous, honorable, loyal, the fact that he was a doer instead of a, like a sit back and watch kind of person, the fact that he was a family man and like his whole thing was a rage because this family was self-taken from him. I mean, everybody knows the story by now that
redemption arc. He never changed. He was a badass dying to his
Wait, is your argument that because he hadn't finished his whole arc in God of War 1 to God of War 2, that he didn't learn anything? Bro, did you play that game?
dying breath until
You definitely didn't beat God of War 2 because you would have known he regretted it all at the end and how he destroyed his own world in the process, and the fact that he understood that, one, that you shouldn't give in to rage because it's very woman of you to give in to anger and throw a fucking titty tantrum.
the end. He was the ultimate edgelord. He was the ultimate badass throughout the 2.
What happens with edgelords is they have to mature. It is immature to throw a titty tantrum in real life and to like freak out on shit. Not to say his war against the heavens weren't justified, especially at certain times, especially against the gods that specifically did wrong to him, but he literally crashed out on everybody, and that was one of the issues. The fact is you're supposed to progress as a character. You're supposed to mature, become reasonable, not give in to your anger. Then again, he likes dominating men, so what does he know?
Thousands. Women wanted him. Every woman wanted him. He was the ultimate Chad. There is no Chad more Chadly than Kratos in the original God of War games. He sacrificed Poseidon's daughter, and then he beat the crap out of Poseidon himself. And that was from 2005 to 2010. These were the most based games ever. Even, I would say God of War 2018 was fine. You could tell they were softening him up, though.
It's called character progression. He got a new family and then lost the next wife. And then he became a dad again and was able to actually protect this child. A lot of people, did you look at the reviews before making this video, or did you just like go into like angry incel Reddit and then claim that all people hated this God of War? Because it has incredibly positive reviews and it was a huge bestseller. So bad that they were able to re-release these games on Steam and they exploded in popularity.
Because he lost his edge. He just wasn't a
Because it was a console exclusive prior.
badass anymore. And guys,
He wasn't a badass. He just realized that murdering entire pantheons worth of people at the drop of a hat is retarded.
would you wonder why this happened? Look at all the women they hired in 2020 with all the gay degenerate.
So here's my question: is like I see him do these pictures all the time where he shows a bunch of like creators. When he did this for Battlefield, I actually looked it up myself, and it turned out that like 85% the studio was actually men still. And that most of what he was saying was illogical because he showed like 6 women and was like, "Look, Battlefield's woke and gay," and it's like, because there's 6 women out of like 200. Like, what are you talking about? So I don't trust him when he shows these pictures. I feel like I have to go look them up every single time to see if he's just doing another subversion. It's kind of like when the leftist community do the same shit where they like show like a kid in a cage and they're like, "Look, immigration is bad, like or ICE is bad because they put kids in the cages like monsters." And then you find out it was like Obama era and he was the one that authorized all that. And it's like, "Oh wait, no, hold on, don't look at that part. That's this." Just on the other side.
LGBTQ shirts they have. And guys, look at the cuck of war today. Look at the mom of war.
Okay, this actually genuinely pissed me off. So a father, being a father with his son and raising his son, one of the most, like, the goal of so many aspects of being a man, like, raising your son to be better than you, somehow that's his son. And he's cucked because he takes care of his own child? Like, you sound fucking insane when you say stupid shit like that. Like, you're literally like making a joke about a Reddit meme while saying the most Reddit mod shit I've ever heard.
He is the god of war against men.
I have the masculine urge to watch my daughter die and then abandon my son. Shut the fuck up.
And you can see that in God of War Ragnarok. And guys, if y'all remember at the end of God of War Ragnarok, it's not even Kratos' story. He has to get help from all these other losers and he has to bring everybody together and he learns about himself and he's
oh no, the character is progressing and not just being a rage-filled moron murdering everybody. He's certainly less masculine, not throwing a big titty tantrum and attacking people because he has no self-control.
softened.
I don't know what alpha male you got your concept of masculinity from, but you might want to get your money back from whatever course you took.
And God of War Ragnarok is the gayest game I have ever played. And
What? The gayest game? That's just non sequitur. There's no homosexuality in the fucking game.
Just absolutely, these women are just absolutely rubbing your face in it, dude. We'll never get Kratos, dude. We'll never get angry old Kratos back.
Thank God. Edgelords are supposed to adult at some point.
They just turned him into a Redditor, basically, which is right here. So yeah, these women, and this was a direct quote from Ragnarok, "Who your mother has sex with is none of my business."
So I don't remember this quote. I'm just going off faith that it actually said this. And there's 2 reactions I have to this. Number 1 is dumb. Number 2, definitely dumb. In general, obviously history matters. And if that's the argument this is taking place in, then it's dumb and they shouldn't do it. Because obviously what you do prior to a relationship still matters because it defines who you are and characterizes a bunch of your shit. However, she's dead for the whole game. So like, are you saying that after he's mourned her death, he finds out she has a boyfriend prior to dating Kratos, and all of a sudden he's like, I don't give a shit because it's the wife I loved? Like, 2 completely different things from like, I got a body count in the triple digits. I got 6 kids from 8 different guys, and like, I'm super retarded about things, but you can't actually judge me based off me. Or like a woman that had one relation prior that was his dead wife. That's like, I don't want to talk about a past relationship because she's the woman I married and I loved, and it doesn't matter if she had a partner prior. Totally different qualifiers.
Said cucked Kratos. Like, bro, let's talk about his wife's boyfriend next. Like,
Again, that's literally impossible because his wife was dead in the game, and then prior to the game, they were monogamous. So you're just being an asshole.
a cuck. This was
And you're
was
being
another
and
thing that was
you're specifically lying and being divisive to try to prove a point that you don't have with this example. The funny part is like if you were using an honest example, like a video game where it's like some woman that was like ridiculously promiscuous and that kind of modern, gross, divisive sexual revolution behavior, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm with you. Fuck that. But you chose the example that literally disproves what you're saying.
annoying about God of War Ragnarok was they took, I think it's Angerboda, and they just made her black for no
Yeah, that was dumb. Race swapping is dumb. Just like gender swapping. It's dumb.
reason, just because. And now I usually don't like this guy, but the creator, David Jaffe, he's on YouTube and he said Kratos is too soft and developers are injecting their personal lives into the game.
Okay, so this is a really good point to take a quick pause on. So, when you become a writer, one of the most important things you have to do is be able to draw on your own aspect of your own life experience and being able to humanize your story because you can write anything about you could write a book about blue alien men in a planet you'll never visit and it can be very human of you because of how you can correlate it. You have to have life experience to be a true author. You have to have experienced trauma in your life. And I don't mean like you need a trauma dump as an author. That's not what I'm telling you to do. I'm using example Lord of the Rings, where Tolkien survived a world war, and you can feel that kind of soul in his writing because he knows what it's like being on a major battlefield. So that way he can present it in a realistic and a way that the author can, or excuse me, the audience can feel with him. That is important in writing. The problem is when you as an outside author are kicked into another person's story and you become one of the writers, you have to understand that you cannot put your own personal trauma you have to develop from the original authors, which is an argument on why the Dune books, for example, when he passed the books off to his son, were so garbage because he is not able to write like his father's own trauma and he writes it with his own. So, by the way, when I say trauma, you can look at it another way of saying that would be like your own human experience and your own personal values, morals, ethics, spiritual, religious, or philosophical behaviors, and how you correlate that to a multi threaded story. Trauma is just a one word explanation to kind of sum all that up into one quick thing.
And I completely agree with him, dude. And who better to say that than the creator of Kratos himself?
He's the only one that can say it.
So, guys, let's talk about what they're doing with God of War now. So, it's basically all but confirmed that the new God of War will star Faye, his ex wife. Guys, let that sink in. There will be no God of War in the God of War game. Corey Barlog, just another Reddit cuck, reveals plans for ambitious new game.
Okay, so this is definitely a weird decision to make, and here's the big thing: you can make an action hero game with like a Mom of War character, but the important aspect of that is that you would have to dive into a positive Mama Bear experience where she's fighting for the like. If you make it a revenge plot, you should make it a man because that's a man thing. If you want about like defending your defending your kids like a nurturing Mama Bear, then you can make like a God of War mom version with a different story. To impulsively like throw a female lead into this moment doesn't make sense because the Ragnarok didn't set this up whatsoever. So it doesn't make sense to do this, especially because most people expected the next God of War to go into the Egyptian pantheon. So this one doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, the
Basically, I agree with him. This was a dumb decision.
ambition is just making a woman the lead, guys. It's the Mom of War.
With how often in the modern day do we actually see a motherly figure in modern media, which is like, the biological standard? Hell yeah, they want to give me that. I would celebrate that to the day just because it supports traditionalist values more than anything else. And then we can look at whether or not the gameplay is good. Let us definitely not shit on something for being a mom.
The God
We can't for the life of us get modern behavior to support moms in that kind of regard of traditionalist values.
of War has been turned into the Mom of War. And guys, like, how did we get here, man? How did we? I'm going to have another video soon talking about how much I missed the 2000s, but this is how we got here. This is how this happens. Oh, I was going to make one more joke here. Halo 7, and this chick on the right was
We don't talk about the Halo TV series.
Chief's love interest in the terrible TV show. So Halo 7's
Like, here's the thing, too. Like, you can get, like, a military woman that is attractive. Why on earth did they choose someone that's, like, clearly not? That was a weird decision.
starring Master Chief's wife as the star of Halo 7. Gears 6, starring some chick as the, starring Marcus Phoenix's wife as the main character of Gear 6, guys. Like, get a grip.
Okay, so this is where he kind of like skirts over this, but it's actually the most important point is that if it was just one of these series, most people would care. Most people would be like, this isn't pattern, this is just a decision, especially let's say like The Witcher 4, where it was very obvious Ciri was going to be the main lead. So most cases like that, it wouldn't be a big issue. The Gears of War, for example, would be the opposite because again, or the God of War, where it doesn't set that up whatsoever, so it doesn't make sense to do so. What they do is because these upper, business associated brains, all are just hive mind political BS. We get 100 of these at once where it's all women lead characters and we all just get immediately exhausted by it. That way, none of these get actually a fair shake of whether or not they're a good game or not, which in general is fair because you've made it very clear we can't trust you. Therefore, we're not going to trust you into making this game and supporting its content.
Bro, I am just beyond done with AAA gaming, as I've said many times before. But let's move
So let's move on to where he's going to like contradict himself from the entirety of this video.
on to the next game here because I wanted to talk about Ninja Theory, and they used to be a based studio there in the
What? How? It's got a female lead.
UK in 2007. So a lot of y'all remember Heavenly Sword. It was this dope as hell PS3 exclusive.
You mean almost like it had good writing, a good good expectation for a female lead action hero because it had good or heroine because it had good writing, good character development, an interesting dynamic, and someone that's not a subversive, hate men filled bullshit.
Noriko was
It's almost like it has almost nothing to do with whether or not she had dangly bits and whether or not it had good writing and good gameplay.
the main character. She was fine as hell. Combat was fun as hell. That game came out in 2007. They even did an Xbox exclusive called Kung Fu Chaos that is low-key hilarious and a little bit racist, and it's great, and I love that game. Even back in 2010, they were still kind of based. They had this Chad character as the main character of Enslaved Odyssey to the West, and there was as the main girl character. So, guys,
Yeah, because it has nothing to do with whether or not you're a woman. It has to do with one, if they make the character aesthetically pleasing, which is like the foot in the door, and then the other 90% of it is whether or not you have good writers that are writing something that makes sense, is fun to watch or play, and have good gameplay. It has very little to do with her gender or sex. And it has to do with the fact that people are tired of bad writing with this stoic bullshit, anti-male, man-hating character that doesn't look like act or be perceived like a woman at all, and it's like every toxic masculine trait that they try to claim we have into women, and it's stupid, but it has to do with that.
what happened to Ninja Theory? Oh, here's the
By the way, the original game had like 20% women on it, just saying.
a staff meeting of the women in 2020, and here's the staff. Dude, look at all these ugly bull dykes. So
There's no way this video is gonna make it through YouTube.
here's the staff in 2026. Here's all the women on the staff in 2026. And guys, this is what we got, dude.
Another female lead.
Did anybody actually play this game?
Actually, this is a good example. I don't know much about drawing. I know maybe 10 things. Here's one of them. When you write or draw a female character and like the, day one, you're learning how to draw biological differences. There's a face part that's like totally round for women. That's more like a delicate feminine features that leads up through the whole head, where men have that more square jaw action. If you notice, she definitely has that like square jaw masculine behavior. So they like intentionally made a character that could have been attractive, very masculized, making her unattractive. But again, this failed for a multitude of reasons. This is one of them. Another reason is that it's a very niche game with not a huge audience of people that like these kinds of games, and they made it really divisive, which made even less people interested in playing it.
It was just dog shit, man. I mean, like if
I would know. It's not my kind of game, so I never played it.
you exclusively yes, the tech was amazing that they used for this game. Yes, the combat was pretty good, but
That's not the reviews I saw. Everybody gave it 5 out of 10, and they're like, it's mediocre at best. I feel like he's trying to use other qualifiers to like focus in on the fact that it's a woman that's ugly, and it's like that's part of it, but that's not the whole story. From the videos that I watched when I was watching like the trailers and gameplay, it looked really one-dimensional and boring.
bro, I don't care about this ugly lesbian chick.
Also, like when we're playing these characters, other side outside of cutscenes, we're usually staring at their ass more than anything. So it's like, who cares if the face is ugly if it got a nice ass?
The main character. Like I just I don't care about being stunning and brave anymore. And of course, all of the review sites just praise the
Bro, 8 out of 10 for a review you had to pay for is a wild thing. You know it's like dog shit if you get like 7 out of 10 for a paid review.
game. They praised it, but here's the problem, boss. Nobody bought it. And in
Well, you showed enhanced. What is like well, I guess it doesn't matter because it shows in
the
game.
latest report that I found, the CEO is leaving the company after 20 years because
Yeah, he took a shot, it failed, and now he's getting laid off with the rest of them. That's what happens when you make shitty stuff.
they're basically they're not shutting down, but that's a really bad sign when the CEO who's been there for 20 years leaves, dude. It means the company is dying and about to shut down. But guys, this is what hiring women gets you. I
Again, Halo Combat Evolved had women. Gears of War Original had women. God of War 1 had women. It has to do with this kind of political divisiveness and this lack of any aspect of like women wanting to be women. Like these are the kind of women that couldn't tell you what a woman is. That is a bad person to write a female lead because she's going to try to write a toxically male character with tits.
hope that much is very, very clear. This is what happens when you hire a bunch of fat purple haired lesbians to work on your game. But guys, finally, I just want to hit my third example, and that is Witcher 3 from
Witcher 3 rocks. That was one of the best games I ever played. And all the DLCs.
2015.
Witcher 3 is a good example that most people are okay with DLCs if it's good content and there's a chunk of it where it feels like it's worth spending that extra money.
One of our favorite video games of all time. Guys,
I played it on the Xbox, so I would have shown like my hours of the game, but it was like God knows how many hundreds and hundreds of hours.
do you remember romancing Yennefer, romancing Triss?
Yeah, because like men on average actually like romance. Is we actually like building connection with women, and like this notion is like crazy that like men in general actually like feminine women being women because it's like or like sexually dimorphic or some crazy concept like that. So like in general, men do like romance. And the fact of like when shows are actually not super divisive, like a ton of shipping takes place that's mostly men is really good example of that. The problem is like in the writing perspective, a lot of romanticy or like when you see TV shows with a lot of romance, it's so women heavily dominated in terms of its preferences. It doesn't spend enough time of what the men appreciate it. Usually that has to do with again political divisiveness, as a gay man can write it just as much as like a woman could write it. It has nothing to do with sexuality or sex. It has to do with behavior. You can be totally based and be any of these different character arcs in terms of, you know, what kind of personality or person you are. And it has to do with what you're focusing in writing.
So, do you remember how base and
In other words, postmodern gibberish is dumb.
funny and likable Geralt was? Do you remember spending 200 hours with him just messing with villagers? Like, dude, what a good time, man. What a great game Witcher 3 was. I wouldn't have even been mad
You know he's like searching for it when he's starting to like hesitate
if they said,
because he knows he's about to contradict himself again. So let's watch this again. Watch when he knows he's going to contradict himself how he reacts.
and look, I wouldn't have even been mad if they said, "Oh, you remember how hot Ciri was in Witcher 3? You get to play as Ciri the whole game." You know,
Yes, you would have. You would throw a big titty tantrum like all the rest. And why? Because all these games are coming out once with a female lead. If it was just Witcher 4, he wouldn't even been able to make this point or this video in general because most of the people would have dogged on him because it was a stupid argument. But the argument that what makes him semi-right in this case is because they're all coming out once and we're all doing pattern recognition. We're all seeing the bad writing. We're all seeing the divisive man-hating rhetoric and we're all like, well, I'm not going to give that a shot.
they would have completely tossed the lore out the window because, but if you remember, some of Ciri's
They didn't toss the lore out the window. Read the books.
powers are even more powerful than Geralt's. And so Geralt,
Yes, absolutely. And that is lore relevant because she doesn't have the strength of a man, and he's even stronger than a man because of his Witcher chemicals in his body and his hormones and giving up the ability to have children. So it makes sense that she's more magically enhanced to match with her, which again matches the books.
had to go through the trial of the grasses.
That's not some evil sexism. Oh, they hate men. That is an example of good writing. How do we equalize in that kind of state while not being politically divisive? Oh, she has more of a connection to magic, allowing her to compensate for the fact she's not as physically strong.
To become a Witcher, there's no reason for Ciri. The Trial of Grasses kills most of the people that go through it, and it definitely kills all of the women. But guys, they threw all the lore out the window. So again, just to be clear here, if they had kept Ciri hot, I probably wouldn't have had an issue with this. But because you
So also in the books, just as like a spoiler, the women when it comes down to like accepting the chemicals in their body, the women actually do it better. It's when it comes to like the confrontation aspect of it is where all the women die. So
got to get your stunning and
it's almost like the sexual dimorphism in writing can be really good when handled well.
brave on.
Also, what's wrong with her look? I mean, it's obviously like you looked into videos and tried to find something divisive, and the worst you could tell was bad lighting. She looks identical in both of these, other than the fact that, like, you know, her chin is lifted, so it makes her face look a little bigger. But like I was talking about, how it's like when you draw women, it comes kind of like into like an oval shape versus men, where like mine is like, you know, more of like a chin and, you know, crimson chin like behavior. She obviously has a rounded face. It's obviously feminized. It has feminine features. There's a focus on her eyes and the development of it and its color and longer lashes, softer eyebrow. These are thoughtfully feminine things. I would consider her attractive,
We have been announced Witcher 4 as of last year, and we're going to spend
especially the one on the left.
200 hours with this ugly bitch right here. And you're probably going to get plowed by dudes.
I know you dream about that because you like dominating men, but in general, it's a romance option. So there's this crazy idea, like when you made like a video bitching about Kingdom Come Deliverance, you just don't play the gay version. It's this crazy idea, but I guess it's too hard to like think of.
Like, I know all you gay cucks, all you Redditors who played Ghost of Yotei, and
Didn't play that game.
you're very
Also, don't have a Reddit account.
excited about the new Naughty Dog Intergalactic, the Girl Boss Prophet game.
I don't even know what game he's talking about, so it must be something stupid and gay.
I'm sure all of you men who are secretly gay are very excited about getting plowed by dudes in The
Projection.
Witcher 4. Look at Henry Cavill leaving the TV show. Like, dude, there's something
Okay, totally different creators for it. I totally agree the Witcher TV show was totally fucking stupid. But that has nothing to do with the current conversation.
seriously wrong going on at CDPR. So, as best as I can understand,
That's because CDPR isn't making the decisions for the television show, nor is the creator. He's already like condemned the TV show in general, which anybody that's a Witcher fan should.
it, what happened was after, and this happens with a lot of studios, studio blows up because a game is amazing and everybody leaves.
Okay, so like real quick, that's because, and what happens is a bunch of people leave because they think they can do better because they were part of or associated with a team that did well, so they think they can do it themselves. So a lot of these creators that are like this top row of guys go and be like, I can create my Go gaming studio, and then they fall off and nobody ever happens to them, and nine out of 10 times they fail because they're not as special as they think they are. It's like the female or the male version of like main character syndrome.
And then said famous studio
Talk about fruity fucking characters too. Like, bro is like he's like the most famous for like talking shit about how people look and how it's like a qualifier on how you behave. All the guys he's about to praise look like their wives' boyfriends allowed them to take this picture. But he's not going to say that part.
is struggling to get people to come to work there. So a great example is Obsidian. After Fallout New Vegas blew up in 20, a ton of talented people left Obsidian, and now it's all fat lesbians working there today. The same thing happened with Witcher 3.
He says this and then shows a picture of 4 people that are not fat. One of them might be a lesbian.
After Witcher 3 blew up in 2015, a lot of these guys who were making like a barely livable salary in Poland
Oh, boo-hoo. You weren't making the money you wanted.
got hired by other studios and they all left. This top row here, these 2 top rows, this is the leadership team on Witcher 3, and they are not at CDPR anymore. They all left, dude.
Tell me in the comments right now, he would not make fun of all these guys if they weren't politically on his side when it comes to game writing. Go ahead.
They went to go start this other studio called Rebel Wolves or something. I think I'm forgetting the name of the game right now, but you can look it up.
So it's so nobody cares that like even you didn't do it to go look it up because they fell off. Interesting.
So their entire staff left. And who's making Witcher 4 now? Of course, the Troons and the lesbians and all the people that's left over, guys. So I would almost trust CDPR if this had been an organic decision by the studio, but it wasn't, dude. But guys, yeah, they pushed hard on the diversity and inclusion.
which is typically retarded. But I'd have to ask, when did they post this? Like, if they posted it this year, then oh yeah, we're in trouble. I have to like no longer fucking defend Witcher 4, even though so far it's made sense because this would be indicative of like that, seeing the behavior coming. But if this came out in like 2016, then like yeah, of course, because you have to, especially if you talk to like 10 years ago or 8 years ago for certain, you had to play the game or you would just be run off the internet, right? That's really not seeing the writing on the wall, or that's not seeing pattern recognition, because it was basically required to survive 10 years ago because we were so politically divisive. We swung so far in that retarded direction that you had to play the game.
They pushed hard on ESG. They took the
I couldn't make this video 10 years ago. I would have been ran off this platform.
satanic gay ESG money. And this is who's working at the studio now. You've got the former writer of Spider-Man 2, everybody's favorite woke DEI game.
So Spider-Man 2 is a great example of what Asmongold talks about, where he says things like, political writing can only bring like gameplay down like a point in general, but on average, like a good game with bad political writing is basically ignored. And bad writing in a bad game is already bad, and it can't make it. It's the same notion that like there was some political divisiveness in Spider-Man 2. I definitely don't disagree. However, it was a really good game, so people generally either ignored it and didn't care. It was in the game already and people didn't done. Miles Morales himself isn't a politically divisive character because he was already in the Spider-Man verse and he wasn't a combative in the game for Peter Parker. He was just another gaming option. And it was about him, adding to the story instead of like pulling away from it. However, there are other options like the Mary Jane missions that were super woke and dumb. So there are definitely an argument for wokeism in the game, and I'm definitely not supportive of it. But it had really good gameplay, so I got away with it.
And then you've got this lore designer, this gay dude who's the lore designer for Witcher 4. And that is how you get these people working at the company. And this is how they think, oh man, it's going to be so stunning and so brave to have Ciri as the main character.
200 hours in a game to finish the story is pretty good.
Even though it literally doesn't make any sense. I didn't mind playing as her for a couple hours in the game. And like
Yes, you did.
I said, even if she had stayed hot, I might have been okay with it.
No, you wouldn't have.
But bro, because men are evil and because men are allowed to have nothing, they had to make Ciri evil. They had to put her.
Ciri's definitely not evil. You should have played the game. Or I'm sorry, you should have watched the trailer. She's supposed to be taking over as the new Witcher position for Geralt, telling her story next.
In here. And so that's about it, guys. But yeah, so I'm going to get out of here. But just to remind y'all, hiring women, this is what happens. You get the mom of war, the god of war. This is what happens when you hire women at your studio.
Okay. So he is a little bit right and a lot wrong. And here's the big indicator, or the big crux of the whole thing. It has a lot less to do with whether or not you've dangly bits, and it has to do where you are in your head in terms of where you are morally, whether or not you adhere to like postmodernist gibberish, whether you're, one of those feminazi psychopaths, whether you are, anti-God, anti-man, anti-anything traditionalist in that regard, and then you're given power to write a story. Most of these people aren't creators, they're not game creators, they're not authors, they're not artists. They are political activists pretending to be these things, which is why we have such divisive and constant political messaging in games, because that's really what the crux of all this is. It is a demasculinization of men. It is a hyper masculinization of women. We'll fake masculinity, and that's usually like all the toxic traits they bitch about men for, they will do themselves, especially as soon as they get handled a female lead character. So these are the things that make it bad. It doesn't matter if you're a man or woman, straight or gay. You can be either based or cucked, in terms of like, you can be like an adherence to traditionalist values, morals, characters, and want to write something that has a strong narrative theme associated with deep moral values of humanism and, loyalty and self-respect and all of these things that, build off and culminate into your own, moral or social or religious or philosophical base, blah, blah, blah. Most writers can't do that. Most modern game creators can't do that. And it has nothing to do with men or women. It has to do with we have surrendered ourselves to such extreme political narratives that have taken over these spaces where we are sick and tired of their political narrative. I don't give a shit about your political opinion. Just write me a good story. I don't care who you voted for. Just make me a fun game that keeps your politics out of it and is something enjoyable and fun to do. That's it. That's all I want. We don't care if it's men led or female led. What's important is whether or not you wrote a good game. Just do that. So I agree with his overall imperative or his overall pattern recognition that all these female games are coming out once and it's in that negative. Agreed. My problem with it is that the reasonings for it gives are way off. He is avoiding the main issue with it, and he's bringing this down about sex and sexuality. Who gives a shit? I just want a good game. And like for example, at the end of the day, we all just want, something quality. And if you're not willing to make quality, don't make it. When you're hiring these people, make sure you understand whether or not they're here to, enhance a story or to play HR against you. That's bad management. That's bad leadership. That's bad hiring and firing. And, if you're in the office and you see someone being politically divisive, deal with it. Especially if you're like a right to work state. Deal with it and get the shit out of there so that people are focusing on gameplay. If the conversation is about Minnesota and how it's the evils of the patriarchy, probably not a good person to write a male lead character or a straight character. Yeah? Okay. Have a good day, y'all.